Hi there. Welcome to Apple World. Over 15 years after Lisa Nicole Carson was debased and removed from Hollywood, she is presently emerging to uncover the debilitated, curved, and fiendish piece of Hollywood that demolished her vocation and her life, part of the motivation behind why I've chosen to come public with something so private for me is on the grounds that I need individuals to comprehend that in addition to the fact that I hit the absolute bottom like multiple times. Lisa accompanied receipts to show exactly how seriously she was treated by the people pulling the strings in Hollywood and how they weaponized the media to destroy her picture and life. Yet, for what reason did Hollywood disdain her so much? And for what reason didn't she retaliate yet? I had an episode in New York at an inn and it got spilled out to the press. Okay, so as of now, I figure we can all concur that Hollywood must be one of the most insane and most poisonous workplaces that consistently existed. And it simply feels like we are continuously catching wind of how severely an entertainer or vocalist was being dealt with and thrown to the side by the business for reasons unknown, and keeping in mind that that is quite awful. I consider one of the most pessimistic scenarios that we've at any point seen must be that of Lisa Nicole Carson. Listen, Lisa was done messy in light of the fact that besides the fact that the business demolished her profession, however they came super near destroying as long as she can remember now. Lisa was no joking matter in Hollywood once upon a time. And I mean, she was not precisely a uber whiz or any such thing, yet she had an extremely strong vocation in Hollywood, which is beyond what we can say for many individuals. He began acting when she was a kid, and she made a ton of progress in her 20s, featuring in the hit show like Partner McBeal, Emergency Room, thus numerous others. Yet, as well as being really skilled, Lisa was additionally exceptionally enchanting, and she revealed upon the fans with her charms and her entertaining character. Okay, I simply maintained that time should remove my cap since I've been guided take off and to show America that this is no weave thinking of me in the letters inquiring as to whether this is go on, feel yet there's a piece here. And truly it's few out of every odd day that we see a very gifted entertainer with regular graces, so individuals only sort of acknowledged that she would have been around for quite a while and have a full vocation. Yet sadly circumstances didn't exactly pan out for her that way, since her profession failed not long after it exploded. And Hollywood is right at the focal point of her setback, since like I said they did her filthy for one. Her profession began to go to pieces when a specific film chief purportedly caused her to play out some disturbing and improper demonstrations, with a canine promising her a film job as per a visually impaired thing. Supposedly she played out an unseemly demonstration on with a canine for a film job. The chief actually didn't give her the part. They fundamentally giggled at her after she made it happen. Then, at that point, she lost it purportedly, so supposedly she was set up by the chief, and I don't think he at any point had the aim of offering her the job he needed to embarrass her, and it was clearly an arrangement. It seems to be the chief deceived her, and the fresh insight about this act immediately spread around Hollywood, and this sort of spoil Lisa's appear once both in the business and with fans. Now, I don't have any idea how valid or not this story is. Nevertheless, the tales are out there, and she immediately began to transgress in any event. When there was no proof that she really did it, individuals began to treat her contrastingly because of this gossip. Yet that wasn't the most terrible of it, since her emotional well-being began to go to pieces, and she before long began giving indications of bipolar problem. She had a progression of mental meltdown that further exacerbated the situation for herself, as well as her profession. Back in the last part of the 90s and 2000, I was having a progression of mental meltdowns. I had figured out how to keep it hush for some time, yet I had bipolar turmoil can be a truly challenging condition to manage, yet the business just exacerbated it for her by distancing her and removing her crazily. It was somebody in the business who originally brought up to her that she was giving indications of a bipolar issue, and this was a very long time before it got downright terrible. In a meeting she did with Substance magazine, Lisa uncovered how a maker on the show Emergency Room perceived her cheerful dispositions as being something other than a cordial and blissful mentality. She said, "My cheerful minutes seem to be another thing to one of the makers on Trauma Center. He had a family background of bipolar problem, and figured I may be displaying a portion of the side effects. I didn't have a clue or how it could concern me, so I simply go on with my life." In those days, psychological wellness and psychological maladjustments were not, however, broadly discussed as they seem to be today. So she rejected to accept them that she could have a bipolar problem. However, that immediately changed when she had a crazy episode under a year after the fact, she said, "A year after the fact, I was in New York City finding friends and family when I suddenly threw a tantrum in my inn, shouting, tossing things, crying, and raising efficient damnation that the staff called an emergency vehicle. I turned out to be hospitalized for quite some time, and the specialist gave a finding bipolar turmoil. However, even with that, she went into disavowal and wouldn't seek treatment or take drugs to control what is happening, and it wasn't. Well, before things went crazy again, there were endeavors to treat me, yet I was in complete disavowal about having realness in the event that you are in the pains of a mental meltdown or episode. They can become desperate circumstances quite effectively because of this. She kept on deteriorating and more terrible, and her maniacal episodes developed increasingly more frequently and more extreme. She had the option to keep their episodes private. However, things went crazy in 2000 when she in the long run had the mother of every maniacal episode, and tragically she was unable to conceal it from the media, and it hit the news. That was a reminder for herself, and she in the end chose to seek treatment and be gin prescription so she could get better. The media had been really merciless with the titles about her crazy break. However, still up in the air to not allow that to get to her, she invested some energy in a mental clinic, and when she got out, she chosen to keep acting, and she returned to the arrangement of partner McBeal, which she was shooting before her medical clinic stay, yet things took a descending twisting when she got terminated from the show. She said after being released, "I got to Los Angeles and went once again to work on Alan McBeal, feeling more in charge. Everyone on the show was superb to me, yet my agreement wasn't recharged for the last season. No one gave me a clarification, except for I expected it needed to do with what occurred, and I was crushed." She was out of a task, and despite the fact that she attempted to get another acting it, she couldn't land one. She, in the long run, needed to move out of her public picture had gotten destroyed due to her dysfunctional behavior, and the media positively made things somewhat worse for her. She had been in media dear before this, and it's only wild to perceive how they turned on her. She said, "Once my episode became public, I was destroyed in the press, which truly hurt. Up to that point, I carried on with an enchanted existence in Broadway." Insiders uncover that her sporadic ways of behaving were not just an outcome of her psychological sickness, since she likewise fiddled with some medication utilized. A source said Lisa was terminated from both partner McBeal and her because of her sporadic way of behaving from a blend of and bipolar confusion on trauma center. They killed off her personality, Carla. It's super miserable. And Lisa feels like Hollywood, her representatives, and her director didn't do anything to safeguard her from the reaction over her psychological well-being, despite the fact that she felt like none of it was her shortcoming. She feels like they just stayed nearby and passed on her to drive, which was really uncalled for. She feels like the business betrayed her when she was at her most helpless and wound up kicking her out. She in the end left Hollywood for a long while. However, things were still terrible for her. An observer uncovered that she was functioning as a server in burger shop, so I'm taking a gander at this lady without seeming to look excessively, and afterward, at last, I assume I know what her identity is. Nevertheless, I at last asked her. And I was right. Well, her representative and director dropped her fam. Ailey wouldn't address her any longer since she had endlessly acquired from them while never repaying anything in addition to she took from them too. Not much, she says, yet enough. She says that she has taken care of everybody now and that she can really utilize her leftover check.